Amidst the growing tensions between Iran and Israel, India has started evacuating its nationals from Iran under Operation Sindhu. Hello and welcome to Drishti IS. My name is Saloni Nankulier, and today we will analyze this operation in detail. So, because of the growing tensions between Iran and Israel, and especially after Israel's Operation Rising Lion, which was an airstrike on Iran, a need was felt that our citizens need to be evacuated from this conflict zone because the level of uncertainty has gone up. Even Trump had ordered evacuation of Tehran, and we cannot be sure of what the future lies for this conflict zone. So that is the reason that approximately 350 requests came in from the Indian nationals who are living in Iran that they wish to be rescued, they wish to be evacuated. So then, after that, the coordinated evacuation mission, which is Operation Sindhu, was launched by Ministry of External Affairs to evacuate citizens from Iran. And there were approximately 4,000 Indian nationals. So there are some 4,000 Indian nationals in Iran, and half of them are students. So these requests started coming in that they wish to be rescued, and the first batch of 110 students has already arrived in New Delhi earlier today, and a second batch is also anticipated to arrive sometime soon. In fact, in the airstrike that happened in Operation Rising Lion, some Indian students were also reportedly injured. That is the level of danger or insecurity that these people are living in that conflict zone. And that is why India is in close contact with the Iranian authorities to evacuate these people as soon as possible and as safely as possible. So let us look at some evacuation routes that are available for our citizens to be rescued from Iran. For that, let us analyze the map of Iran in detail. So you will notice Iran is surrounded by Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. So a useful mnemonic to remember this could be TAAPATI, TAPTI. So Turkmenistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkey, and Iraq. So Iran is surrounded by all these different neighboring countries, and the evacuation routes that were available to India were by land routes. We could have used Armenia, Iraq, Turkmenistan. So these are the countries that we have amicable ties or friendly ties with. Air corridors could be from Yerevan, which is in Armenia, Baghdad or Erbil, which are in Syria. Sea routes via Persian Gulf. You see, Persian Gulf is here and the Strait of Hormuz is here. So land routes, you can use all these neighboring countries. Sea routes, you'll have to use Persian Gulf or Strait of Hormuz, and then you will be able to reach India via the Indian Ocean. So for this, access through Kuwait, Oman, or Saudi Arabia would be required because we're talking about Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. So we'll need access from Kuwait or Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman. So these countries will need to have close association with these countries and use the airports also for a safe evacuation of our citizens. Now let us see which route was followed by India. So for the first batch that has arrived in India, the route that we followed was that from Iran to Armenia, there was a ground evacuation, and then from Yerevan, which is in Armenia, there was a special flight that was scheduled for New Delhi, and all these people boarded that flight, and that flight reached New Delhi this morning. So this is the route that we followed, and there were a lot more other options that were available to us. But this makes this operation so unique and so different from the previous evacuations that we have done because of the different types of ties that we have with Iran's neighboring countries. So we do not have amicable ties with all the neighboring countries of Iran. So if you look at the eastern border of Iran, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. So Turkmenistan, Pakistan, we do not really have great amicable ties with these countries. We do not have great ties with Azerbaijan, do not have great ties with Turkey. Azerbaijan and Turkey openly supported Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. They criticized India, so we do not have great ties with these countries. We do not have any formal ties with Afghanistan ever since Taliban's rule was established there. So we do not have a lot of options, especially on the eastern borders of Iran. We do not have a lot of options. We will have to rely on Iraq, Armenia, and that is what we did in this first evacuation also. We relied on Armenia. We can rely on Iraq in the near future. We can rely on Persian Gulf, on the Strait of Hormuz, like we can rely on Saudi Arabia. We can rely on Oman. But the eastern borders of Iran, the countries neighboring Iran on the eastern side, are not really our friendly neighbors. So, but this would have been a much shorter route because India is here and Iran is here. If we could have a direct land evacuation or a direct air evacuation to the eastern border countries, this would have been a faster and an easier route. But because of the changing situations or the dynamics that we have in this geopolitical area, it is not really possible that we could have followed this route, and we had to rely on the western side, on the western borders of the country. And that is the reason that this this evacuation operation becomes difficult and becomes very different from the previous evacuation missions that we have had. So India has strained ties with Turkey, Azerbaijan and Pakistan. We have no formal ties with Afghanistan, and we must rely on diplomatic coordination with Iran, Armenia, Iraq, Saudi Arabia and others. So the road ahead for India here is that it needs to strengthen its diaspora database. A lot of Indian nationals, they live across the world, and India needs to strengthen its diaspora database to clearly identify these people whenever there is a conflict, whenever there is a war, and then come up with the evacuation plan proactively. So this time also there were some requests that came in from these nationals that they wish to be evacuated, but India must come up with these plans proactively. There should be a proper database in place, and India should be able to identify all its nationals living in different parts of the world, especially in conflict zones. We need to establish regional evacuation hubs and agreements. We need to invest in our military and civil coordination. Why? Because if you look at the map here, when we say about evacuation from Persian Gulf or Strait of Hormuz, we will need to have coordination from Indian Navy. We'll need to have Indian Navy also get into the picture. And right now we relied on normal flights, special flights from Armenia. But if the situation worsens, we might even need to have Indian Air Force involved in it. There might be some airlifts that could be required, some special evacuation that could be required. So we need to have coordination with our armed forces also. So they need to be coordinated with the Ministry of External Affairs. And we need to continue our neutral stance while securing Indian interests. So right now, India has a neutral stance. We do not openly support Israel or we do not openly support Iran. And India must continue doing that, because right now our first and foremost priority is to evacuate our nationals safely and securely. And we cannot really afford to have really afford to choose sides at this moment. So that is the reason we need to keep maintaining our neutral stance and just secure Indian interests and build resilient ties with multiple regional partners so that we do not have to rely on limited number of countries or just limited partners, because that limits our evacuation routes. And if something has to happen to other countries that we were relying on, if something happens to our limited partners, all our routes will be closed. So we need to diversify our areas. We need to diversify our options so that we do not really rely on just limited number of countries or partners. Let us also look at some important previous evacuation missions that India carried out in different times, be it wars or be it even COVID-19. So Operation Ganga was carried out in 2022, and this was during Ukraine-Russia war, where we evacuated our Indian nationals from the war region of Ukraine. Operation Devi Shakti came in 2021, which was from Afghanistan. Then Vande Bharat mission was a global mission that came in 2020. This was for COVID-19 pandemic. Operation Rahat came in 2015. This was for Yemen when there was a civil war. Operation Maitri in 2015 for Nepal when earthquake had hit Nepal. And Operation Sindhu is the latest one, which is in 2025. That is happening in Iran because of the conflict between Iran and Israel. So that was all for today's video. Let us quickly see a practice question for prelims. India launched Operation Sindhu to evacuate its nationals from Iran in June 2025. In this context, which of the following statements is or are correct? So Armenia shares a land border with Iran and has no open territorial conflicts with any of Iran's neighbors. 2. India does not have any formal diplomatic relations with Afghanistan despite sharing deep civilizational ties. 3. The Strait of Hormuz lies to the south of Iran and is a critical route for evacuation by sea. 4. Turkmenistan, though landlocked, was considered a maritime route for Operation Sindhu due to its Caspian Sea access. So the options are A, 1 and 2 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 4 only, and D, 4 only. So that was all for today's video. Thank you for watching. Please provide your answers in the comment section. And until we meet the next time, please keep studying and keep revising.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe. and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.